everyone, it's Sally with the Polka Dot Life. Thank you for stopping by. This week, Stampin' Up launched a new collection of products. It's called the Quite Curvy Bundle. And there are several different options that you can use to mix and match different elements of this bundle. We are going to be taking a look at those today. Let's head on over to the stamp desk and get started. I wanted to start today's video by telling you about the Classic Christmas Designer Series paper that is part of the Quite Curvy Variety Bundle. The paper pack features the colors of Shaded Spruce, Sahara Sand, which I'm always happy when I can work with this color, and Cherry Cobbler. And each paper is double-sided. Let me pick this up here. And so there are a total of 8 prints, and then they are just repeated within the color families. There's one with Christmas trees, just these different greenery images. I love this one. Stars, dots, stripes, patterns, everything that you would want to create some fun cards. This paper is available to purchase separately, as is the Curvy Christmas stamp set. The Quite Curvy stamp set features images of birds and has some vines and different greetings, and it is available only as a bundle with the curvy dies. So you have the Quite Curvy stamps, the curvy dies that are bundled that you can get as a group, and then you can purchase the paper separately. You can purchase the Curvy Christmas stamp set separately, or you can put all 4 of those items together in the Quite Curvy Variety Bundle. And when you do that, you will save 10% on the total cost of those items. Let me first say that I would suggest taking the time to follow the link over to my blog. It will have all the measurements. It's going to have some graphics that explains the different configurations of how you can purchase these stamps and these dies. It's a little bit confusing. It's all named similarly, and it gets a little confusing after a while. We have our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine here. And I have this strip of Designer Series paper. It is 2 inches by 6 inches, and we're just going to place it here in the center. Today, we are just working with this particular die, and that's what I used on all of my cards today. It just kind of, the style of it worked well with Christmas cards. So on this underside, you want to see that this doesn't cut out a strip. It cuts an edge. So it's hard to see on camera, I'm sure. But this solid, there's a lip here. This is the edge that will cut. And then it will cut all these little dots on one portion as well. And you can use both the positive and negative, I guess you would call it, of the cut on your cards. You just can flip things around and play with them, and it just makes it a little bit fun. This is a little bit longer than we're going to need for on our card, but I wanted to have the option of moving the curves where I want them to fall on my card. So we're simply have our magnetic base down here. We're going to put our top plate on, and I apologize for the shakes. But this one really doesn't shake too bad. It's so nice and smooth. I'm really enjoying it. So let me move this out of the way. And here we have our 2 pieces. Well, one is stuck to our plate, but this is how it comes off. So that long line cuts this, which you can also use on a card. And then we will have our piece for today. And sometimes these little dots stick to the plate, and sometimes you have to poke them out. and it's kind of hard with the pattern. You just have to feel over it and take a look to see if you need to pull out any of the holes. But it looks like they are all here on my magnetic plate, and I can simply put that over the trash can and I can take care of it there. We are going to do the most part of our work today on this piece of shimmery white cardstock. You can tell it's a little bit different color than our regular Whisper White cardstock, but it's probably not going to show on camera, but it glistens. There is a glittery, not really glittery, it's not pieces of glimmer, but it just has a sheen to it that sparkles. So I want to start out by putting our designer series paper on, because how that falls is going to determine where we do our stamping. And I've looked ahead of time, and I know that I want this edge against our cardstock. And it's probably a little bit longer than what I need, but I don't want to cut it until it's on here. So I'll probably be a little gluey on the back side. Just want to have those edges nice and crisp. One other little part I want to check is just this. I want to make sure, and it's just barely, I'm just going to have to even get a little glue at the tippy top of my bottle, because I just kind of want it there above and maybe in between those dots. And I'm just going to very carefully lay that down and put a little bit of pressure on it, because that's going to be an edge that might get caught as you pull your card in and out of your envelope, and you don't want to put all this work into it and then have it not work out. All right, and I am going to take, actually, these aren't a pair of Stampin' Up scissors, but I like the ones with the longer blades to just trim this flush. I wanted to glue this layer down because it is going to determine how our stamps will fall and our different elements. I have not practiced this ahead of time. I just had an idea in my head, and so we will maybe get a surprise together. You want to take I went ahead and mounted this, so I'm not going to unmount it. But these stamps have a natural curve to them. You may have to manipulate it a little bit. And with the photopolymer, you can do that. You would just lay it down on your card, make that bend go the way you want it to, and then press your block down. Just make, it should stick to your cardstock enough to hold your bend before you put your block on it. And it is a little hard to get it just perfectly right, especially with a scripty thing, because you've got your upper things that go up and things that go down. So you just do the best that you can. We are going to stamp this greeting with Cherry Cobbler. I'm just kind of letting that sit there and transfer for a minute. Oh, how pretty. I thought it would be fun to use the star paper, and then we have this large star row of stamps. And I thought it would be kind of nice to do this right alongside it and maybe do some gold embossing. It is important when you're doing some heat embossing to warm your heat gun up ahead of time, and I have done that off camera. This ink is called Versamark, and it's a sticky glue, and you can use it for all kinds of things. As you can see, I might have done some clear embossing where I stamped and put it in a die, and probably had some on my block. And that's how that got a little bit discolored. Normally, I would prep this surface by rubbing it with a dryer sheet, or if you still have an embossing buddy, but I want to do another technique on that same area, and I'm afraid it won't stick if I do that, and I'm really okay if some little flecks of gold would get stuck on the card. That's fine. It will just add to it. So we are going to do this. Whoa, that just went right along with it. Must be good and sticky. And then I am just simply going to, I have an old tray here. And I am going to just dust this embossing powder right over top. And I like to do mine twice. And I could scoop that on there, but let's just sprinkle some more. Just in case you've missed a little bit of an area the first time. Adding some metallic elements to your card, especially at the holidays, just elevates it to a different level. It just looks so much more elegant, and somebody knows that you really took some time to make them a special card. And it is a little hard to tell with the shimmery white kind of what is embossing powder and what is the shimmer on the cardstock. At least it's a little bit easier with this being gold. And we're just taking some extra time to get those little bits off since we didn't really prep our surface correctly. We just want to do our best at cleaning that up. But I think that looks pretty good. So I apologize for the sound of the heat gun. It is loud. But we just are going to go over. We're going to slightly move this around, but not like great big circles. And you'll see when it starts getting warm enough, you'll see it transform and turn shiny. And it's just so fun to watch this process. You do want to keep moving along because you can actually burn your embossing powder. And I'm just going to take this underneath as well. Make sure you don't rub that with your hand or bump it. But it just gives it another little pass at making sure everything's heated. And it will also, if your cardstock warped one way during the first process, it will help it to recover and bend it the other way. That was super cute. I like that a lot. I also have been playing a little bit with our shimmery white paint. And I thought it might be fun just to give it a little bit of glimmer. We are not going to paint directly on our card, but we are going to use this stamp. And I probably got way too much. We're just going to kind of spread that around. And then I am actually going to just use this to clean it off with. And I'll just use Kleenex to get the big blobs off. So let's just take this. We want enough on here. I kind of want to do a little practice. It would probably just add a little texture if you got a lot. So that might not be a bad thing. Or we might just have to like do a second generation stamp. But I think I've got it thinned out enough here on my block. And we can just randomly go in here and add a few along this row. Got just a little bit on my cherry cobbler. I don't really want it there, so I'm just going to take my finger and fingernail carefully, and it actually just might be a pattern on the paper. But I thought that was a nice empty space, so we would go ahead and do that. Let's see here. Let's do another one. It's just kind of fun to use some messy products sometimes and play. Kids shouldn't be the only ones allowed to get messy, and I want to come even off the paper there. So I think that is good. I'm going to put these aside to clean them up. I'm actually going to see if you can see that here, and it will turn more of a white as it dries. Let's bring in the other elements to our card, and we'll start gluing those and layering those together as our shimmer white paint dries. I love that these patterns are double-sided and there's so many great options. We are going to use on the bottom side, we use the stars. On the front of our card, we're going to use the reverse of that image. Don't want a lot at the sides, but I do, well, that turned out to be a lot there. I like to get it into those corners because, like I say, you don't want it grabbing whenever you or your recipient are taking it in and out of the envelope. And we just want to center this up on our card base. It's just a standard A2 card base. I'm loving my Whisper White thick card base these days. I don't know why, but I just really am. And then we have a piece of our gold foil paper. And yes, I know I'm probably wasting this and need to cut something out of the middle. But I just didn't want to take the time to do that. I was just being purely lazy today. But you absolutely could cut some circles or take a die and cut a big, label out or something that you could use later on in a card. I just thought with the gold star, putting this layer on would look really nice. Now, let's see. I'm going to move this out of the way for a minute just so it doesn't glare on your screen. I am actually maybe just going to take this heat gun from a distance and just give that kind of a going over. I'm not going to rub along those stars. I'm not going to rub on those stars because they might be still a little bit wet. But I think that that will be super pretty. I love it. But I think we can get this glued down without making too big of a mess. our embossing is definitely dry. It's just that shimmer white paint I want to try to avoid. Super, super fun. Don't feel any air bubbles down in there, but I just want to make sure that there are not. So I think since we can get so close there, that we'll be fine. Oh, I love it. That, like I say, that little bit of gold and just adding a matte. And I love the different layers of the Pattern Designer Series paper. I think that that is really pretty too. I'm going to bring in our gold enamel glitter dots. I could get under this and pick one up. Let's see, where might be a fun place to put one? Or do we want to just put them all here? I don't think so. Let's put one here. I like that these have 3 different sizes. I think it just makes the design look so much better. And we still want to put these in a little bit of a triangular pattern. So let's do these 2 on the bottom. I like to do the bigger ones on the bottom. I feel it just kind of weights it better. Where might we want to put? Yeah, we might have a little bit of embossing powder stick there. So let's just cover that up. Just put that right there. May your days be merry and bright. What a fun card to put together. And that little shimmer of our extra snowflakes just adds just a bit of happy also. It doesn't jump out at you, but when you move it, it definitely catches your eye. Let me move this out of the way. And I made a few other cards. This was the first one that I did. And I just wanted something, it just screamed rustic to me. I love the little tree stamp. And so I did the Merry Christmas greeting and popped it up and put a little bit of shaded spruce behind there. And then I love this ribbon and I put that on there, just tied it right around there. I put a few glue dots to anchor it down. And I didn't put an inside greeting. It doesn't have a lot of inside kind of greetings in this stamp set, so I will have to just pull one from another set and use it on the inside. Or it could just be like a note card, and you could even use it as a thank you. You could use it for all different kind of things. And this card, I was thinking might be good to send to somebody that might have had a really hard year this year. I know we feel like we've all had a hard year, but I'm talking somebody that has maybe suffered a great loss, and you just want to show them the love of Christ, or just be a good friend during this season. Let them know that you're thinking of them during the holiday season. So it just says, thinking of you at Christmas. And I made this shaded spruce bow, and I did use some tear and tape to hold it down. And I love this ribbon, and any chance that I get to use it, I'm just very excited about it. And then I had some of these holiday rhinestones that I put on there, and it's probably hard to see that like I say, I used both pieces of cardstock, but I thought it just needed a little bit of something else. So I put a picture on my blog, and you can see it really well. I ran this through the Subtles embossing folder, and it adds a nice layer. You can particularly see it on the white, but I stamped first. You always need to stamp first if you're going to emboss something, because you would never get a good image if you waited and did it afterwards. And then I just did this little strip so that you could write what you wanted to on the inside of that card. I just thought that that was a great option to send to somebody at Christmas. Of course, it doesn't have to be somebody that's had a sad situation. It'd be great for anybody. You could even put another reading inside. Here are all 3 of the cards for you to see at one time. I love that designer series paper that we have so many options in the patterns to choose from. And I didn't use any of the Sahara sand today. I thought I will save that and use that with the other stamp set that is part of this variety bundle. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.